Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing, well, if you're flipping or wholesaling houses anywhere, if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. I get this question a lot. It's asked in different forms, but I figure I should still answer it because it's a big question and it comes up a lot. And the question is, how do you flip or wholesale houses in New York if you don't have money for the deposit, the EMD, which stands for earnest money deposit, which is how much money you give upon contract. So first, let me explain why it's a bigger deal in New York than other places. In many states, you don't technically need to give a deposit, right? You're supposed to give some consideration, but you can give $1, you can give a check that never gets deposited. In New York, it's dramatically different for two reasons. Number one, the language in New York contracts say that the contract is not binding until the deposit funds clear. That's why a lot of people wire their deposit funds or they give a certified bank check. All right, because if that check bounces, you're not bound to sell the property to whoever bought it, went to thinks they're in contract with you. I have had situations where an earnest money deposit check bounced. It was, I think, it happened 2 or 3 times. It was always an over. Somebody screwed up, sent the check from a wrong account. All those deals ended up closing. But if somebody bounces a deposit check on you, you should understand you have the option to sell it to somebody else. Now, that's one issue. The second issue, much bigger issue, is that standard deposits in New York are significantly larger than everywhere else in the country. Standard deposit in New York is 10% of the purchase price. So I say this all the time. When you talk to sellers, you want to maybe plant a seed after you agree on a price. Listen, I know standard deposit is 10%, but if I put 10% down on all my deals, I'd be out of business. I'm going to give you $1,000, $5,000. I usually end up giving between $5,000 and $10,000. Which is less than 10%, but you need to be aware that it's going to come up. And even when I say that to a seller, 99 out of 100 times the attorney doesn't know that, and the attorney just assumes it's 10%. So when, again, another big difference in New York is the seller's attorney prepares the contract. So when my attorney gets the contract from the seller's attorney, it almost always asks for 10%. I'm buying something for $300,000, they ask for $30,000, even if the seller agreed to take $5,000 from me, and then we have to just go over it. And there are times where attorneys are assholes, and they say, you better not do this deal unless you take a huge deposit. And I've had deals die over it, 1 out of 1,000 maybe. It happens. It can happen. Most of the time, it's not an issue, right? If you're giving something significant. But I can't get away with like $500. I find I can't. But maybe it's something in my head. I don't know. So the question is, what happens, right? Even if you do negotiate the deposit down to $5,000 or $10,000, you're a new flipper / wholesaler. You don't have that money, right? If you're a flipper, you should have that money because you're going to need, $75,000 to $150,000 in cash to flip a house. Just to explain what that is, that's even if you're getting a hard money loan. The hard money lender is going to lend you between 70 and 90% of the purchase price. So you're going to have to put up between 10 and 30% of the purchase price. That's significant. Then you're going to have to put up all the closing costs, which can be significant, $10,000, $20,000, depending on the size of the purchase. And you're going to need money to start the contractor off. Most hard money lenders are going to give you 100% of the construction financing, but they're going to pay it in arrears after the work is done. So you're going to give them a scope of work and say, first I'm going to do the kitchen, then I'm going to do the bathrooms. And when the kitchen's done, they'll give you the money back. But you're going to need money to start off. So I say most people, you're going to need about $100,000 to do a flip. So you should have money for an EMD, an earnest money deposit. Remember, this money is credited to you. So if I'm buying something for $30,000, for $300,000, and I give a $10,000 deposit, when I come to the closing, I only have to bring $290,000 plus closing costs. So what happens, right? If you don't have the money, if you're wholesaling, a lot of people go to the wholesaling because they don't have any money, right? And if you're flipping and maybe you're borrowing all the money from somebody else, and that guy's not going to give you the money until the closing, you don't have any money. So here are your options. Number one is to borrow the money, right? Obviously. Now, you can't borrow from a hard money lender. Now, remember, the deposit is not secured by anything other than the contract. And the contract is not a very secure document. So, and if I'm a lender and you tell me I need money for a deposit, I'm not going to lend it to you, right? Because you could default on that in a million different ways. You can't close, you can't get your money, you change your mind, and then I'm going to lose my deposit, or I'm going to have to litigate for that deposit back. And that's a horrible position for a lender to be in. So no lenders lend on a deposit. By the way, is this color right? I don't think it is. Let me just... That's worse. Jesus, maybe the color was right. Maybe that's better. Okay. So you can't really borrow it from a traditional lender. And you can borrow it from some friend, right? So they say, listen, I need $5,000 and I'm going to get it back for you, or I'm going to give you some kind of return on your investment. So that's one way. second way, and really the better way, and I'll tell you why it's a better way, is to partner with somebody like me. This is not a shameless plug for why you want to send me your deals, but I've had people call me and say, hey, can you lend me the deposit? And I'm like, no, but let me see what the deal is. I look at the deal, and it's a shit deal. Shit. I'm talking about a disaster, right? People, they're buying a property that's listed for $20,000 less than what's listed for, and they think that this is some kind of great deal. So the biggest service I provide that no one talks about when you JV is I'm going to let you know if it's a good deal or not. And if it's a good deal, I'm happy to joint venture with you. So people come to me with horrible deals all the time. I'm talking about multiple times a week. Somebody will show me a deal, and I'll be like, this is not a good deal, right? I can give you a hint. If it's listed for sale, it's probably not a good deal to start. But even if it's off market, you need to, what happens a lot is when somebody's trying to get into this business, they try to make a deal work. Right? They speak to a seller. 1,000 sellers tell them to drop dead. One seller says they'll talk to him, gives them a price that's way too high for an investor to make money on. Right? It may be a good price for someone who's going to move into the property. So somebody showed me something that a property was listed for sale $565. He tells me, first of all, the guy came to me at $565, and I said that's insane. Right? Let me just explain what happens when a property is listed. If a property is listed for sale to the general public and it's not selling, here's something you need to understand. Then it's not worth that amount. Now, I know everybody's going to say, well, this property is in a bad location, it's bad condition. It's not worth that amount. To a retail buyer, it's not worth that amount. The idea that I'm going to pay what a retail buyer won't pay is really a recipe for disaster, because I have to pay much less than what a retail buyer would pay for it. So that's the basic gist of why I highly recommend that nobody who's doing this business looks at listed properties, unless there's some specific crazy story. So the property's about to come out on the market, and you can get it before the day it comes out, and it's mispriced. I made money on a property once like that. Property there's tenants in there, no one can go see it, but you have pictures or you can get in. Then maybe, but short of some crazy situation, listed properties are almost never a deal for an investor. So when people come to me and say, hey, look at this deal, right? And I have basic 3 criteria that I want from you, right? I want you to be in direct contact with the seller. Don't show me a deal from somebody else or a deal that's listed. 2, I want you to understand the story of the seller. Tell me why this guy is willing to sell at a discount, right? Some guy told me he's moving from the Bronx to Queens. Like, that's not a big move. And 3, I want you to have some idea of what you think this property is worth, right? I had somebody call me with a deal. I don't know what it's worth. I go, you don't know what it's worth? I go, you want me to look it up? In other words, you can't have a concept of whether this is a deal or not unless you've done some basic research into what you think it's worth, right? So those are the 3 things I want you to do. Now, I'd love for you to have a price indication from the seller, but sometimes you can't get that, and I understand that, right? But if you don't have a clue as to what it's worth, I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm going to obviously check it, but you have to have some clue as to what this thing is worth. You have to be in direct contact with the seller, and you have to have a story from the seller, understand what's going on here. I need to know what's going on. So if you give me those 3 things, and then I might help, I'll do some quick research and let you know what I think this might be worth. And that's really the biggest thing that I provide is letting you know whether it's a deal or not. And if it's a deal, I'm happy to put up the EMD, put up my money. My standard split is if we wholesale it, it's a 50-50. And if I have to close on it, then it's 60-40 in my favor. That's the basic gist of it. I think it's as simple as it can be. And people told me I'm nuts for doing that because I do all the work and put up all the money. But I'm fine with it. It's a deal that I don't have to spend money on. So that's really the easiest way, is to partner with somebody like me and make money, and then you can put up your own EMDs going forward if you don't want to deal with me, right? It's fine. And I even when I sell coaching, right? There's a lot of coaches out there, they sell and they demand that the first 3 deals you split with me 50-50 or whatever the hell it is. I don't, even for my coaching students, they can do all their deals on their own. They don't have to use me at all, right? Some of them want to, and some of them do, and some of them don't. It's fine. I don't care. My point is that if you don't have the money for the EMD, just hook up with me or some other real investor that's going to work with you, and we'll put up the EMD, and we'll, most importantly, let you know what a deal is, right? Right? This fallacy we have in our heads is that we're going to call this list, and these people are going to say, I need to sell for any price in a day. No, that never happens, right? They always have a number in mind. It might be what they owe. It might be what they need to move somewhere else. They have a number. And then when you speak to somebody, I can tell you whether it's a deal at that number or not. Very often it's not, right? And you need to know that before you borrow the EMD from somebody else, get into a deal, and then come to me and ask me if I'll partner with you, right? Because at that point, it might be too late. So that's the basic gist of what you could do. You could borrow the money if you don't have it, or you can partner up with somebody like me until you build up enough that you have the EMD yourself. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching I offer, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. You're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. You're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes have really been helping me. It's really a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people who like it, the more people get to see it, and then more people like it. So that's been great. So thank you very much. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. This came as a comment. Who I want to give credit for whoever commented. Greg Carroll. So thank you very much. Your budget's limited. You live in Westchester. You're just getting started. That's the answer, right? To partner up with somebody or borrow it from somebody. Those are the answers. So thank you very much. Oh, keep the comments coming. You can ask a comment at anything. It doesn't have to be about the video you're watching. And if it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered recently, I'll send you links to videos on it. If it's something new, to a video or videos on it. And if it's something new, I'll do a new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching. I really, really appreciate everyone who's been watching lately. Thank you.